friends, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then hi, welcome. My name is Anna, and today we are going to be talking about 10 things that they don't tell you about breastfeeding. Number one is that it's not easy. So I know that for some women it can be really easy, for some babies it can be really easy, but you have to give yourself time and give your baby time, because you are learning how to breastfeed and your baby is learning how to breastfeed. So don't just automatically think that all babies come out and they just latch perfectly and it's super easy. Sometimes it could be a lot of work, sometimes you're not producing enough, quickly enough, sometimes the baby just doesn't know quite how to latch. It can take time, it's a learning curve for both of you. Give yourself a little bit of patience and you'll be okay. Number two is pain. It can be painful, and also it doesn't have to be painful, and both of those are normal. It is normal for some things to hurt. It is normal for it to hurt a lot more for somebody else than it did for you, or a lot more for you than it did somebody else. Some women experience no pain with breastfeeding at all. Some women experience a lot of pain, and that is normal. There is one thing that I really wish I would have been told when I was starting, and that is that even if you are producing enough milk, even if your baby is latching correctly, it can still hurt. A lot of people, especially in like the healthcare system, there's this, how do I say it? There's a little bit of a rule that they like to follow, or that they like to tell you about, and that is that it shouldn't hurt, and if it's hurting, that means that you're doing something wrong, or that the baby's doing something wrong, and that's not actually true. It is normal for it to hurt. Everybody's nipples are different shapes and sizes, and your body has to get used to having somebody suck on you for 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time every 2 to 3 hours when no one did that to you before. It can hurt, it's normal. That's it. So that brings me to number 3. Nipple shapes can be all sorts of different for everybody, and that kind of can contribute to whether breastfeeding is going to be painful for you or not. For me personally, I had very short nipples, and for my baby to be able to actually get milk and have a good latch and everything, my nipples had to grow a lot, which means that they had to grow new skin as they were growing, and that was very painful. They cracked, they bled. It was all sorts of not fun, but it's normal. Number 4 is kind of a weird one, and I don't know if this is something that people normally know, but I definitely didn't know about it until a friend of mine started breastfeeding and I actually saw it. Anyways, and that is that your nipples don't just have one hole that the milk comes out of. There's a whole lot of them, and they shoot out in all directions. I was not expecting that when I saw my friend. Thankfully, I saw my friend before I had my own kids, so by the time I had my own kids, I was not terribly surprised. But I don't hear anybody talking about this, but that is just how it is. The milk comes out of a lot of different holes, and they come out in all sorts of different directions, and it's normal. Number 5 is the feeling of the letdown being painful. Everybody talks about how they can feel their milk dropping, but nobody really talks about the fact that it can actually be painful. At the beginning of breastfeeding, it's more of the nipple that really hurts, since your body's just starting to get used to it. But after that was done hurting, my letdown was painful. It was really the strangest thing. I had just a couple of seconds after baby latched that I could feel the letdown, and it was really painful. It was like a cramp in my nipple, and it was just painful for a few seconds, and as soon as, you know, the milk really came in after that letdown feeling, it of course didn't hurt anymore. But no one really warned me about the fact that that could hurt, and I was really kind of scared at first, but I found out that it was completely normal, and as you do it more and time passes, it doesn't hurt anymore. So right now my letdown doesn't hurt, but it does for, you know, the first couple months. At least it did for me. And speaking of your nipple having lots of different holes that the milk comes out of, number 6 is that sometimes you can accidentally spray your baby in the face with your milk. This kind of like combines like the multiple holes of the nipple with the letdown. Sometimes if you are a good milk producer, you have a lot of milk that comes out right at the letdown. Babies can sometimes get a little bit choked up because it's just kind of a lot that comes out, and so they detach from the nipple, and it's like right when your body is just producing a ton of milk and it sprays out everywhere. And it's actually kind of sad because it just sprays them everywhere, but it's also funny and normal. Number 7 is definitely not a good one, and definitely not one that I knew about, is mastitis, or really bad clogged milk ducts. It can happen if you have just been engorged for a long time and you weren't able to release all of your milk. Sometimes it just happens because you're wearing a bra that is a little bit too tight somewhere, and it kind of constricted that milk duct from being able to like let down the milk that it was supposed to. It can happen for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it can happen because you slept wrong. Anyways, there's a lot of reasons what it can happen. The engorgement itself is painful, but mastitis, I unfortunately had it with both of my babies while I was breastfeeding, is so painful. You can feel it's like so tight and sore. But of course, the best way to unclog the milk duct is to keep producing milk, try to get the clog out, massage it. Warm water works really good, so you can massage it with warm water in the bath. Sometimes you can put some warm towels on yourself, or like a little warm pack to like try and get it to like unclog. But definitely keep either pumping or breastfeeding, because you need to get that out. Mastitis can actually get really bad. It could create horrible infections that can hurt you. It could go into your bloodstream. It could get you could get a really bad infection that could go to your baby. It could be really bad. So definitely try to get those clogs out as much and as fast as possible. Number 8 might be one that you have heard of before, maybe you haven't, but of course I had to add it to the list, and that is colostrum. Colostrum is the milk that your body produces before it actually produces milk. It's going to be the little bit of yellowish, cloudyish kind of, I don't want to call it milk because it's not milk, it's called colostrum, but it comes out the first few days after you give birth, and that is more than enough food for your baby for those first few days. Your baby has a really tiny stomach, and even though you are only producing a few drops of that here and there, it's way more than enough for your baby to eat before your milk comes in. And that can happen at different times during the first like week of breastfeeding or pumping or whatever you're doing, and it's different for everybody. Mine came in around day 4 or 5 with both of mine, and you'll be able to notice the difference right away. Adding on to number 8 and colostrum and breastfeeding and your milk coming in and all that, one of the things that people don't tell you about is that when you actually do get your milk, you will feel it everywhere. Usually you'll have a full day that you just feel really sick and super drained. A lot of women experience their first real baby blues during the day that they went from having colostrum to getting milk. It just like drains your body really crazy, but it's totally normal. Also, you'll be able to tell the difference between the actual milk that comes in, that it's like nice and thick and white, versus the colostrum that's a little bit more yellow and clear, and you just don't produce as much of it. But like I said, that little bit of colostrum is really way more than enough for what your baby needs, and it's also super healthy and packed full of nutrients and vitamins and everything. That colostrum is like gold for getting your baby fed those first few days. Number 9 is all the amazing uses for breast milk. Nobody really talks about breast milk being used for anything else other than just like actually feeding your baby, but breast milk is amazing for all sorts of things baby related. You are more than welcome to do lots of research, or I can link a couple things down below of all the amazing uses for breast milk, but I will tell you a couple so that you know what I'm talking about. If a baby gets an eye infection, you can put a little breast milk on their eye. Baby acne can also be treated with breast milk. Also, your rawness and nipple pain, it can be treated with breast milk. There's just so many things. I will look up some sort of study or website on all of the amazing things that breast milk can do, and I will link that in the description below for you guys to check out. And of course, with the last one, I am going to end with a gross one, and that is the smell of breast milk that has gone bad. Sometimes you get to experience this nasty smell if you accidentally left a bottle in the fridge for a few extra days, but the one thing that nobody warned me about is that it can actually be on you. Oh God, that sounds so gross. It happened to me a couple of times where I had a breast pad maybe for a little bit longer than I should have, and the milk that had dripped just started going bad, and the smell is just, it is so gross. The first time it happened to me, again, no one had told me about this, so I was thinking that there was like a dead animal or something near me, and I started smelling everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's my clothes. Like, who knows if these had just been like wet and there was just like that smell of moisture. I was like, maybe that's what it is. I can't really tell, and I was trying to see if it was me or my baby. It was a mess. Of course, I realized once I started taking everything off, when I realized the smell was me, and you know, smelled everything around, and it was definitely my breast pad and my bra that had gotten soaked, and then the milk just started going bad, and the smell was just, ugh, nasty. So anyways, that is the 10 things that I had to share with you guys of breastfeeding that people don't usually talk about. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And of course, in the comments down below, I want to know what sort of breastfeeding mishaps or things that you experienced, things that you didn't know about breastfeeding until you actually were doing it yourself. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell button to be notified when we're posting next, and we will see you next time.